Good morning, this is Sheldon here from the Currency Advisory Desk. Well, Asian markets opened in the red today, including Nifty. However, we witnessed the dollar opening around 12 paise down at 55.44 levels versus a close of around 55.5650. So this was not much of a drop compared to the expectation what we had, pre-opening. Now the July CPI, the Consumer Price Index inflation, came in at around 6.87%. Now, fall in July CPI and the wholesale price index data may provide some room for rate cuts for the RBI. However, we expect the RBI to wait for inflation data for August also to show up before going for any further rate cuts, because as we know there's a major drought that's happening, and the prices of agricultural commodities are any which ways at their highs. So if they go in for any further increase in growth or any further measures to increase growth, this may add on to inflation. So they will wait for the August inflation number and then probably decide their course of action. Now the US dollar index is seen at around 81.97, which is up by around 0.04% percentage points. Now we see a strong support for the dollar rupee at 55, and one can probably buy at around 55.10 to 55.20 levels, from where we could probably see a rally going up to 56 to 56.20. Today all the eyes will be set on FOMC minutes that are going to be released. However, we do not expect any major news flow, especially pertaining to the quantitative easing or any other major market moving news to come out today. This particular news set or whatever comes out will probably give some direction to the euro dollar pair in the international markets. Now the euro dollar pair rallied yesterday to around 1.2488 levels. It was up from a low of around 1.2347, and we saw a major rally in all of the risk assets. We saw the euro rallying, we saw even metals and gold also rallied. Now the reason for that is we've seen that there was a lot of news that had come out yesterday, and we'll go through that a bit later on. But we also see that tomorrow there's a meeting between the French President Mr. Hollande and the German Chancellor Angela Merkel. Now this will be held in Berlin, and it will be an event which will be closely watched by the markets to decide the further direction of the euro and the pound and all the G7 currencies against the US dollar, that is. Now in rupee terms, we expect the euro to rise, and we expect it to cross around 69.50 resistance level. Now a buy at around current levels is advisable. And due to the fall in corporation tax collection in UK, we witnessed a huge rise in the borrowing cost, and we saw yesterday that the public sector finances showed a deficit of around 600 million pounds. Now, last year on year-on-year basis there was a surplus, and now this has come to a deficit. This is bad news for the UK economy, especially with the inflation, the unemployment at such high levels, and further a deficit is all the more worse for them. Now this has been attributed to the low revenue from North Sea oil and gas companies after the closure of an oil platform in the North Sea. As we know, the UK economy derives a major portion of its income from the North Sea oil and gas operations that are there. So since there was a closure of one of the major oil platforms, we've seen that the corporation tax what the government collects, there has been a fall in that. Now we are bearish on the pound versus the rupee, and we expect it to touch around 86.7 in the short term. Now this could be another reason why we saw that yesterday the euro rose against the pound and rose against the dollar also, because everybody was shorting the dollar and shorting the pound on the news flow that came out. Japan posted an increase in trade deficit for July due to fall in exports and an increase in imports. Now we are bullish on the yen, and we observe that it is not breaking the resistance in international markets of around 80. 80 is the figure that the yen touches and comes back to 79, 78.50 levels. And this has been happening for quite some time, for the past few trading sessions. We see that one can probably go ahead and buy the yen at around 69.80 levels for a target of around 70.20 to 70.30, with a strict stop loss of around 69.66, which is a very important support level. Looking at the technical indicators for today, well, for the dollar versus rupee, we see that there's an important support at around 55.30 and a resistance at around 55.6 to 56 levels. And well, one can go ahead and buy the dollar above 55.6 levels. And for the euro also, there's a bullish call that's being generated. We see that there is a support at around 68.50, and on the upside we see that there's a resistance of around 69.80 levels. For the yen, well, we see that the yen has a strong support at around 69.10, and on the upside we see that there's a resistance at around 70.67 levels. For the pound, our view is bearish, and we see a support at around 86.70 and a resistance of around 87.93 levels on the upside. Well, that's it for today. Thank you.